close your eyes for a second and picture a cool June night in Brazil. There's a little wind in the air, the smell of wood smoke drifting from a bonfire, and strings of colorful flags fluttering overhead like they're dancing to the music. Somewhere nearby, you hear laughter, a faro beat, maybe the crackle of popcorn being shaken in a big metal pan. And right in the middle of all that warmth and noise, there's always a table full of sweets that feel like home. For me, one dessert stands out every single time: canjica. If you've never tried it, canjica is a creamy, sweet corn pudding made with white hominy corn, slowly cooked until it turns tender and comforting, then finished with milk, coconut, and cinnamon. It's the kind of spoonable dessert that makes you slow down. It's also one of the most traditional flavors of Festa Junina, especially at São João celebrations, where food isn't just food, it's memory, community, and that simple joy of sharing something warm with people you love. I'll be honest with you, my canjica didn't always come out the way I wanted. For years, mine was almost right. The flavor was good, but the texture would betray me. The corn would still feel a little firm, a little gritty, like it was refusing to become that soft, creamy comfort I remembered from festas. And that's when I realized the truth that changes everything. The most important step isn't the condensed milk or the coconut. It's cooking the corn long enough, without rushing, until it's genuinely soft. So today I'm taking you with me, step by step, no stress, straight into this São João classic using 500 grams of white corn. We're going to build the creaminess the right way, then bring in sweetened condensed milk, coconut milk, shredded coconut, and that final cinnamon aroma that makes the whole kitchen smell like a Brazilian festival. If you love recipes that come with a little story and a little culture, stay with me. And as we start, tell me in the comments, what's your biggest curiosity about Brazil? Now, let's begin where canjica is made or broken, getting that corn perfectly tender. Before we even talk about sweetness, coconut, or cinnamon, we have to respect the corn. Canjica doesn't forgive shortcuts, and I learned that the hard way. The first time I tried making it for a little São João gathering, I thought, it's been cooking forever, it must be done. It looked fine in the pot, until the first spoonful. The flavor was there, but the texture was gritty, like the corn was still holding on to its toughness. It didn't feel like a Festa Junina hug. It felt like I rushed something that deserves patience. So here's the turning point: 500 grams of white corn, soaked, then cooked until it's genuinely soft. Not kind of soft. Not good enough. Soft enough that when you press a kernel between your fingers, it almost melts and doesn't fight back. That's the real secret, and it's also the biggest mistake people make. If the corn is even a little undercooked, no amount of condensed milk will save the final cream. You'll end up with a dessert that tastes right but never becomes that spoonable, comforting canjica you remember from the June festivals. Picture the kitchen while it cooks, the quiet bubbling, the steam fogging the lid, that steady, reassuring sound that says something good is on the way. I stay close, checking the water level, giving it time, because this is where the transformation begins. This is where almost right becomes festival worthy. And while that pot works, I can't help thinking about São João nights, colorful flags overhead, the crackle of a bonfire, people laughing in plaid shirts, and a warm bowl of canjica in your hands. It's simple, but it feels like tradition you can taste. If this is bringing any memories back for you, take a second and hit like, just so I know you're with me. Now, once the corn is finally tender, that's when the magic ingredients get to shine. And I'm going to show you exactly when to add them, and how to simmer everything into that creamy, rich texture without guessing. Before we do, tell me, have you ever tried canjica, or is this your first time hearing about it? And if you want more Brazilian Festa Junina recipes like this, subscribe and come cook with me, because the next step is where the aroma starts to fill the whole house. When I say canjica is comfort in a bowl, I mean the kind of comfort that starts way before the sweetness. It starts with patience. Here's the turning point that changed everything for me: the corn has to be truly soft. Not almost there, not it's been a while so it must be done. Soft like you can press a grain between your fingers and it yields without a fight. I learned that the hard way, the year my canjica looked perfect in the pot but felt gritty on the spoon, like it was refusing to become the creamy dessert it was meant to be. So with 500 grams of white corn already soaked, I bring it to the stove and let the heat do its slow work. The kitchen fills with that warm, starchy smell that always takes me back to June nights, when the air is cool and everyone's wrapped in a light jacket, standing near a bonfire. You can almost hear distant music, laughter, the crackle of wood. That's the feeling I want in this recipe: calm, steady, no rush. As it cooks, I keep checking. I taste. I listen to the pot. And I'm telling you, if there's one place you don't cut corners, it's here. If you've ever tried Canjica and thought, why is it not creamy like the ones at Festa Junina, it's probably this step. When the corn finally turns tender, that's when the whole dessert starts to transform from just cooked grain into something that welcomes the next ingredients. And then comes the moment that feels like the festival arriving inside your home: sweetened condensed milk sliding in, thick and glossy, followed by coconut milk, turning the whole thing pale and silky. The aroma changes instantly, like the pot exhales something sweeter. I add shredded coconut and let it simmer, stirring slowly, watching the liquid tighten into a spoonable cream. It's that redemption moment, where you realize, okay, now we're getting the real Canjica. If you're enjoying this kind of Brazilian kitchen story, give the video a like. And tell me in the comments, what's your biggest curiosity about Brazil? Because in the next part, I'm going to show you exactly how I judge the perfect thickness, and the final touch that makes it smell like São João. Now that the white corn is cooked through and finally soft, this is where Canjica stops being almost right and starts turning into that Festa Junina comfort that makes people close their eyes on the first spoonful. I lower the heat, and you'll notice the kitchen mood changes. The bubbling gets quieter, slower, like it's settling into itself. First, I pour in the sweetened condensed milk. It slides in thick and glossy, and the scent immediately shifts from plain cooked corn to something warm and nostalgic. I stir slowly, scraping the bottom of the pot so nothing sticks, and I watch the liquid go from pale and thin to creamy and inviting. If you've ever had Canjica that tastes sweet but still feels watery, this is the moment you fix that: gentle heat, patient stirring, letting the starch from the corn and the milk come together. Then comes the coconut milk, and it's like opening a window to the northeast of Brazil in the middle of my kitchen. The mixture turns silkier, the aroma gets softer, almost like a dessert you'd smell before you even see the stall lights. I add the shredded coconut next, and it looks simple, but it changes everything. The coconut gives little bites of texture, and the flavor becomes rounder, more festival-like. I keep it at a calm simmer, not a furious boil, because Canjica thickens slowly, and if you rush it, it can catch on the bottom and lose that clean, creamy finish. This is also the part where I think about São João nights: people in plaid shirts, the crackle of a bonfire, laughter mixing with music, and someone handing you a warm cup of something sweet. Canjica belongs to that scene. It's comfort, yes, but it's also fuel. Corn is filling, and it's the kind of dessert that feels like it's taking care of you. If this is making you hungry, take a second and give the video a like. And tell me in the comments, what's your biggest curiosity about Brazil, the food, the festivals, any of it? In a minute, I'll show you the exact point where the Canjica is thick enough, and the cinnamon goes in to seal that classic aroma, and there's one little detail that keeps it from getting overly heavy. Now that our white corn is truly soft, this is where Canjica stops being almost right and becomes the kind you remember from a Festa Junina night, served warm in a little bowl while the music plays somewhere in the background. Lower the heat to a gentle simmer and take a second to look at the pot. The grains should be plump and tender, and the cooking liquid should already feel a little creamy just from the starch. If it still looks like plain water, don't worry. We're about to build the flavor in that comforting, spoonable texture. I add the sweetened condensed milk slowly, stirring as I pour. You'll notice how the color shifts right away, turning from pale to a soft, milky beige, and the aroma starts to change too, like caramel and warm milk. Keep stirring, not because it's complicated, but because you want everything to blend without sticking. Then goes in the coconut milk, and suddenly it smells like São João in my head: smoke from the bonfire outside, corn roasting somewhere, and that sweet coconut perfume that always floats through the air at the festa. At this point, I add shredded coconut. Not too much at once, just enough to make each spoonful feel textured and rich. Let it simmer patiently. The bubbles should be small and lazy, not aggressive. As it cooks, you'll see the Canjica thicken in a way that feels almost magical. And here's a little tip that changed everything for me: if it looks perfect in the pot, it will be thicker after it rests. So stop just before it reaches your final thickness, because it keeps transforming off the heat. This is also why Canjica holds such a special place at Festa Junina. It's comforting, filling, full of energy, and it brings people together around simple ingredients that become something generous. If this is helping you, leave a like so I know you want more Brazilian classics like this. And tell me in the comments, what's your biggest curiosity about Brazil, the food, the parties, the traditions? In the next part, I'll show you the finishing touches that make it taste truly festival-worthy, including that final cinnamon moment that changes the whole room. And that's the moment I wait for every time. The spoon sinks in, the canjica holds its shape for a second, then slowly relaxes back into the pot like a soft blanket. The kitchen smells like warm milk and coconut, and when the cinnamon hits the steam, it feels like the room changes temperature, like you've opened a door to a June night in Brazil. If you grew up around Festa Junina, you know that sound too: distant laughter, a faro accordion somewhere, paper flags fluttering, and that quiet comfort of standing near the food table while everything else spins around you. Go ahead and taste it right now while it's still hot. The corn should be fully tender, no crunch, no chalky bite, just a gentle chew that melts into the creamy base. This is the redemption part of the recipe, the place where almost right becomes truly festival-worthy. If your canjica looks a little looser than you expected, don't panic. It thickens as it cools, and the next day it becomes even silkier, like it finally settles into itself. If it got too thick, a small splash of milk brings it back to that spoonable, comforting texture. Now imagine serving it the way it's meant to be served, in a simple bowl, sprinkled with cinnamon, maybe with a little extra shredded coconut on top. It's sweet, yes, but it's also grounding, fiber-rich, filling, the kind of dessert that feels like food with a purpose. At São João, canjica isn't just something you eat. It's something you share. It's a pause. A warm, familiar bite that says, stay a little longer. If this recipe helped you, give the video a subtle like. It tells me you want more Brazilian classics made simple and stress-free. And I really want to hear from you. What's your biggest curiosity about Brazil? Is it the food, the traditions, the music, the regional flavors? Drop it in the comments, because I read them and I use your questions to shape the next videos. And if you want to keep traveling through Brazilian culture with me, one comforting recipe at a time, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one, with another Festa Junina favorite that makes the whole house smell like celebration.